Do you ever sit back and wonder, how am I doing? One of the best ways we can show up every day is to really get connected with not doing it all, but being our best. And how we show up to be our best is going to impact our ability to be present, our ability to engage with others, and our ability to respond with purpose. That is what we're talking about today on Women Winning Their Way. We're talking about owning it, owning your mindset, owning your actions, owning your vision, and owning your voice. So stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss this one. I'm Clara Capano, and this is Women Winning Their Way. Well, welcome to the show. We are here with Ashlie. And Ashlie, it is so good to have you there. For those of you that are listening, she's got these amazing hot pink headphones. You just can't help but smile when you see those. So, Ashlie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Everybody always mentions my head.
They're amazing. I love them. I love them. It's all about doing
Thank
things
you.
our way.
That's
So,
right.
let's go ahead and dive in. When we bring people on the show, I always love to ask them, the topic of the show is women winning their way. So when
Mhm.
I say that, what comes to your mind when you think about women winning their way?
Honestly, the first thing that comes to my mind is women feeling confident in whatever role that they're in for that moment, for that day. Are you winning at what you're being present in today? So I'm present in this conversation with you right now, right? So am I winning at it? Well, I'm here, I'm present, I'm not distracted. I'm not trying to multitask and message the six people that just text messaged me 5 minutes ago.
Mhm.
I'm not trying to plan dinner for my family. I'm here, I'm present, I'm in this conversation with you. And I think that applies to everything. If you're a woman and you are currently in your board meeting or you are reprimanding your child, are you present in that moment and are you confident in how you've handled that situation? Then you're winning. Like you're present, you're winning.
Yeah, again, just showing up and doing the work, and like you said, being very present in each moment. So key, and in all aspects, personal and professional, I think that's a winning
Mhm.
strategy. So that's great. So let's go ahead and because you run a successful business, you have been doing what you're doing, and this whole show is all about sort of the behind the scenes because
Mhm.
people just wake up and say, I'm going to run a business, and then everything goes smooth. So, talk to me about a time where maybe you weren't able to be present and you weren't winning your way.
Wow. Um there's so many to kind of make a point of what you just said was, yeah, I feel like I'm going to work in this business and everything's just going to go and I'm going to be in this role and everything's going to be nice and butterflies and rainbows. And that's just not reality. I mean, every single day there is a challenge. And to bring to mind a situation where I felt like I was definitely not winning my way, um, you know, I am a CFO of two companies that operate under one umbrella, and we have an owner, and we have an executive leadership team, and we have quarterly review of finances and strategies and things like that. And there have definitely been moments where I came to that meeting ready to go. Last year is a prime example, and I was like, "Yes, I've got the numbers, I've got the reports, I've got all the information lined out, and I'm ready to give my strategy." And the meeting did not go well. It didn't go well for multiple reasons. It had nothing to do with the work that I put into it or the work that the other people in the leadership team had put into it. It just didn't go well. And I for sure did not feel like I was winning that day. I was getting very emotional. I was losing my you know what. And it was just a 1.5 hour meeting that I definitely felt was just a complete failure. And working through that situation and understanding that, one, I did come prepared. I did my part. I brought the information as it's relayed to me in black and white because you can't, make the numbers lie. Numbers tell a story and they do not lie. And that was my job and I did it. And even though the meeting didn't go well at all, I had to work through not allowing that to make me feel like I failed. The meeting failed. It was definitely not my lack of hard work, effort, or determination to make it go better. It was 100% just something that happened that I
Yeah.
had no control over.
That is
And
a very powerful lesson, and I'm really hoping that the listeners took that in. Just because something fails doesn't mean you failed. And I
oh,
think that is something we really have to take to heart because there's going to be failures every day. And like, you
yes,
went back and you revisited. Did I do my job? Did I do my part in bringing the best that I could? That's all we
that's
have
right.
control over. So I think that that's a really good takeaway is to understand that, you are not always the same as the
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
really hard. I want to tie that back to what you opened up the conversation with about being present, because when you're in a meeting like that, it's tanking when you're in the meeting. I can sometimes go and conduct a workshop or speak, and I'm like, I'm losing them. It is so hard to maintain presence when that's happening.
Yes.
So, how do you work? What are some of the strategies you use to maintain being present, whether it's knowing that a meeting isn't going the way it is, or again, with family dynamics, your phone ringing? Like, what are some strategies that help you be present and not to take you off into left field?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's taken me many, many years and I'm still not that great at it. So it's a learning curve for everyone. I'm continuing to learn how to manage it better. I had a moment today where I was very much emotionally responding to something and I had to say, wait a minute, that's not
Mhm.
my job. So what I talk through in my head is, okay, I'm wanting to have this emotional response, but I cannot control the other people in this meeting. The only thing I have control over is my reaction. And my reaction, because I'm a leader, is going to affect every single person in this meeting, whether I'm acting as a leader in the meeting, as a fly on the wall, as a subordinate in the meeting, right? My reaction is going to affect everybody.
Mhm.
So a lot of the times I pause and I will resort to asking questions to get them to respond to me to gain control of the conversation in terms of emotional responses, right? If I can tell everybody in that meeting is having an emotional response, I can sure as crap not have an emotional response. I have to be the level head, right?
Mhm.
But earlier today, I was definitely being coaxed to have an emotional response in a sort of protection type of way. And I had to say, okay, I have to gain my composure because this individual that I'm speaking with is having a very emotional response, and I want to protect them and I want to encourage them and I want to pour into them all the positivity that I know they deserve. But I also need them to learn how to do it for themselves. So I'm going to ask questions that get them to reframe the situation or the conversation to change their perspective. And sometimes it works really well. And then other times, just like everything else, I fail and I have an emotional response and I apologize and we work through it.
Mhm.
But when a meeting is tanking and I can tell it's tanking, I do my best to take a breath and ask inquisitive questions that will make everybody else in the meeting think and maybe have a different perspective, and then create action items for everybody to move forward in a better stance.
Yeah.
Doesn't always work. Can't control everybody's reaction. You can't control everybody's choices, but you can lead by example. And
Yeah.
if you set the example, 9 times out of 10, they will follow you and you will be able to move past the situation that's occurring and grow from it.
Yeah. And I love how you talk about, trying to engage them, by asking them questions. And sometimes I think, a good leader understands that it's not necessarily their meeting. It's a meeting and
Right.
everybody is a part of it. It's everybody's meeting. And sometimes
Yeah.
handing the reins over to others or getting others engaged, that's what really makes the meetings better. I want to also hit on something that you talked about where apologizing. I think as so many leaders, we either feel we don't have to or we just don't. We try to, again, shift blame. How important do you think it is to sincerely apologize when, as a leader, you make a misstep? And how do you think that that strengthens a team culture?
Oh my gosh. This is one of my biggest things. I'm so glad this conversation went this way. I have been an employee at multiple companies where apologies or ownership of their own screw ups was not acknowledged.
Mhm.
And like you said, blame was shifted. And maybe I observed the blame getting shifted not on me, but on somebody else. And man, nothing makes me more furious. I am a solid ground, firm believer in when you screw up, no matter how big or how small, you say, oh my gosh, I messed up. This is what I did. This is what I should have did. I'm going to apologize for that. And here's what I'm going to do to make sure I don't make that same mistake again. Even if you're not in a leadership position, if you're low man on the totem pole and you behave that way, you're going to reach new heights regardless of where you work. And if
Mhm.
you are a leader and you step up and you take ownership of your screw ups and you apologize and you try to work hard to not make that same mistake again, because that's what apologizing means, by the way. Not
Mhm.
everybody knows that. If you're going to say sorry, that means you're going to do your very darndest to not do it again. And my dad always taught me that. And I swear it rings in my ears every time I say sorry. And I try to instill it in my kids, but you do your best to not make the same mistake again. And sometimes you never make it again. And sometimes you're like, oh, bad habit, and you apologize again and you continue to change your behavior to make it better. Because just like what I was saying earlier, when you take initiative and you lead by example, then nobody else is going to be afraid to mess up. And if
Mhm.
you're not afraid to mess up, you learn astronomical amounts. You don't
Yep.
learn from being the best at everything all the time. You learn from screwing it up all the time
Exactly.
and making mistakes. And
Yeah.
that's the best part about life is you're supposed to screw it up because if you don't, you're never going to know how to do it right.
Yeah.
And
So true.
doing it right is different all the time. It depends on everything. So, I mean, always apologize, always take ownership.
It
It
reminds me of that book, Everything I Needed to Learn, I Learned in Kindergarten. We tell our kids, if a kid shifted blame and said, "Oh no, it wasn't me, it was my brother or my sister," or we'd be like, "You know what? Own it.
that's
Go
right.
apologize. If you hurt someone's feeling, go apologize." And I think this is another great example that we have to remember the same things. And like you said, we have to lead by example because
Hmm.
I share that I messed up. It shows that when I'm human, it's a
Yep.
high level of integrity, especially if you continue with what you said and actually don't do it again, and do the follow through. And I think it gives everybody permission to again take ownership of what they're doing. So I think a really strong leader, understands that it's not about being perfect. And you think
Mm-mm.
there's mistakes all day long. Like you said, that's how we get better. If you go back to riding a bike, we only learn how to ride a bike by making mistakes. Every wobble is a mistake.
That's
Learning how to
right.
walk as a child, every time a child falls down, it's a mistake that they
But
learn.
they get right back up.
They
That's
get
the
right back up.
that's the most amazing thing about kids is they could fall 100 times and they'll get right back up and go do it again. And
Thank goodness for us, huh?
right, right. They would never walk otherwise.
Exactly. So, Ashley, one of the things I'm curious about is, you run not just one, but you run two companies. How do you do that? Because there's so many people that are going to be following this that either already have two business, maybe one's a primary, one might be a side hustle, maybe someone is considering of starting a second company. How do
Mhm.
you sort of manage the harmony of running two different companies?
That's a great question. So our two companies are very different in how they operate. One is a fully remote company, and everybody works from home. We have what we call our virtual office. We have a Zoom meeting up and open from 8 to 5, and everybody kind of comes in, cameras off, everybody's muted. But if you have a question, it's like we're in a bullpen, right? Like, hey, so and so, are you there? I have a question about X, Y, Z. Do they have to be on there from 8 to 5? Absolutely not. If they have a doctor's appointment, they want to go take lunch, they want to go work out, they want to go for a run, do whatever. But when you are working, jump on the virtual so that you can interact with everybody. The other company is a brick and mortar. It is a product based business, and everybody is there in that office. I am not physically there, but our CEO is, and I function in a way that I make sure their bills are paid. I keep on top of their invoicing. I make sure everything is accurately, you know, reported for taxes and everything like that. And there are a lot of operational things that I still have to be a part of so that I can understand the financials and create strategy for them. And so, how do I keep them separate? Is understanding that our two businesses operate completely differently. And I like to lead one by example. So I try to be as present as I possibly can. I make quarterly visits to the brick and mortar. We have weekly meetings where I am aware of all their jobs, the status of all their jobs. If they're having any trouble, if they're having any issues, how do we strategically work through that? So we meet on a weekly basis. With the agency, we have some mid-level managers and a COO over there that we try to make sure we are providing them with everything they need in order to provide for the team. And so, as far as strategy goes, the two companies are very separate, and strategy for the remote company is very different from the strategy for the brick and mortar. The marketing is very different, the sales is very different. How do I manage it? I really couldn't give you a firm answer on that. I try to make sure that I prepare before I get into any meeting with the leadership for both businesses. Make sure that anything I have run into over the last 5 business days, I make a note of it. I have this nice little color coded notebook that I keep everywhere I go, and I write down things that I think about or questions or concerns that I have. And I make sure to address them in every meeting. I write down what the answers are or what the strategy or the plan or this or that. I try to give both of those groups of people opportunity to find a solution, provide a solution, create a solution, and I give my input. Sometimes they're like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, okay, well, let's talk through it. Other times they know exactly what they want to do to solve the problem. And I'm like, yes, go. That sounds great. And so I think the biggest part for me and how to manage it is making sure that the people you put in leadership roles, even in mid level leadership, you pour into them, you develop them, you make sure they know you're there to support them, but you want them to be able to handle their role and deal with the challenges that come with it, come to you for help 100% of the time. Because if they come to me for help, I'm going to say, okay, what is it you want to do? What is the first thing that comes to your mind as far as a solution? I'm not going to give them the answers. My dad never gave me the answers. It always made me so mad. But I
Mhm.
find myself doing that to these people, and it grows them and it develops them. And then I don't stress so much about how am I going to solve this problem? How am I going to solve that problem? How am I going to solve that problem? Because I'm giving that opportunity and authority to the people in which I am pouring into to develop.
Yeah.
And as long as I'm focusing on developing them, the problems, the strategies, the success, the failures, all of that stuff is going to fall in line and it's all going to work well with itself.
Do you know that less than 75% of people do not get enough sleep? I know for years that this was something I struggled with. I would fall into bed exhausted, only to then toss and turn all night long and wake up feeling unrested. Sleep is critical to our health, well being, and productivity. I am so excited to partner with Lisa Gibb and Sam V, who have crafted the perfect night's sleep. We cannot walk around like sleep zombies the next day. Lisa and her team at Sam V understand this. And with over 40 years of quality craftsmanship, Somvi sheet sets are designed to create a perfect environment to offer you a restful night's sleep. They use the highest quality fabrics and they have products that focus on temperature regulation. Ladies, you know what I mean about that. With their products that include mattress enhancers to sheet sets, lots of different kinds of unique pillows, comforters, blankets, and more. They literally have you covered and ready for a quality night's sleep. All the products with Somvi will wrap you in luxury each and every night. The people at Somvi are committed to one thing: a quality night's sleep. So connect with Lisa Gibb, your personal sleep consultant, and build your personal and luxury sleep package today. Connect with Lisa at www.lisagibb.somnvie.com. Invest in your rest with Somv today. Yeah. I want to come back and talk more about the pouring into your people. But before I do that, as you were talking, one of the things that came up for me is you have to be very clear on each of the companies. And
Yes.
that's one of the things because, again, even in the preparation ahead of time, it sounds like very clear, not just on the vision, but also the roles of the people. And I think that as a leader, that's also something that we really have to do. Again,
Yeah.
whether it's an organization of one or 101, it's the clarity of what is everybody's role, what are
Hmm.
the goals, the expectations. So it sounds like you have done a lot of that on the front end to make sure that
Yeah.
we have that clarity so that they can do the follow through. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. We encourage every member of the team, every role, to create their own goals for professional and personal development. We do that in our annual reviews. We go over it, we meet about it. We I set up one-on-ones with specific members of our team that are in mid-level management and in leadership, as does our CEO. She does the same thing, as does our COO. And we make sure all three of us operate very differently. We lead very differently. And it's important that all of our people get all bits and pieces of different styles of leadership, and so we talk about those goals. We talk about, okay, where are you at on achieving this? Where do you feel like you are not meeting the mark? Where do you feel as though you've exceeded expectations? Let's talk through that. Let's have those conversations. What are the challenges you're facing? And having those difficult conversations, even if it's a situation where you feel like you are having to have a conversation about poor behavior, um, failure of a project, no matter what it is, every opportunity is a learning opportunity. And making sure that you do create that preparation and that separation, and that you understand your people, you know their personalities, you know their intent, because intent is very important.
Mhm.
And if you know the intentions and where they lie, then you know where they can achieve. Where can they push forward and where will they not push forward? And then you play to strengths, and you work through that to make sure that if I'm making sure that they're playing to their strengths, then my business is going to flourish and my clients are going to be happy, because everybody is are doing things that they are strong at, and they're also growing their weaknesses at the same time. So
Yeah.
if you're doing those two things hand in hand, yes, there has to be a lot of separation, there has to be a lot of structure and organization and policies in place and procedures in place, but at the same time, you're allowing people the opportunity to creatively solve their own problems, and it's going to strengthen them, which is going to strengthen your business. It's going to bring you more income. It's going to make your clients incredibly happy and have less of a turnover of your clients. I mean, the positive impacts of that are just endless. I mean, it just continues to hold
Yeah.
on itself.
So this kind of circles back to what I wanted to ask you about the pouring into your people, because I truly believe if you want to grow the bottom line, you grow the bottom line by growing your people, which I believe is exactly what you were just saying in a different way. So, you mentioned things such as allowing them to find solutions.
Mhm.
You mentioned helping them, identify personal and professional goals. What are some other ways that a leader can pour into their people? Because again, corporate wellness is different than a healthy organization. It's more than just having a potluck, it's more than just calling them on their birthday. What are some other ways that we can really support our people and allow them to feel safe? To feel trusted so that we can get the best out of our people and ultimately get to the bottom line.
So to kind of break that into different pieces, you're right. Corporate wellness is different, right? And you also have culture. What kind of culture do you foster? What kind of culture do you grow? I can tell you how we approach it. And I think that I'm a little bit different than our other leadership members. And so they would all have different input. But for me, I want to make sure that no matter what, we do have a hierarchy, right? We do have like, this is the line of people that you would talk to. But I want everybody to understand that no matter what, you can come to me with any problem. You can come to me, you can go to the CEO, you can go to the COO. Is that always the best course of action? No. But when that happens, we can talk through that and we can create this is a safe space. You can give your frustrations, but don't expect for me to sit and have pity party necessarily. I'm going to talk through the issues with you. I'm going to give you different perspectives. I'm going to ask you questions. I'm going to make sure that we have a full understanding of what's going on, right? So that's one part of that. The other part, how do you make them feel supported? We constantly say all the time, tell me what you feel you need that you do not have to get your job done. What is something you don't have currently that you feel would make your job run smoother, make you feel more confident? Is it training? Is it a better camera? Is it headphones? Is it a clearer monitor? What are the things that you need to be successful in your role? Let's talk through that list, right? And then making sure your people within reason have exactly what they need to achieve the role that they're set in motion to fulfill. That's another piece of it. Yes, potlucks. One of our companies remote, right? So we have coffee hour every now and then. Everybody turns on their cameras and has a cup of coffee, and we chit chat about the weekend. We do silly things like a rose and a thorn, right? Silly conversations. The in-person team, we treat them to lunch every now and then, right? Or if they've been working their tails off to get some orders out and they've worked overtime, we might provide lunch. We bring in DoorDash. We take everybody to dinner, something along those lines.
Mhm.
So it's doing all of those things, making sure that everybody on the team knows if you need help, we are here. Even if you're terrified that you made some huge mistake, I want you to feel confident enough to come to me and say, I made a mistake. And for me to say, okay, it's a learning opportunity. I had a boss that said to me all the time, Ashley, this is a teachable moment. And I would go, oh shit, what did I do now? Like, but I want to be able to offer that because had he never done that with me,
Mhm.
I would not have learned all of the things that I learned at that job.
Ex
And I'm so appreciative of that. And I want to give that to other people. I want to make sure they understand they're going to give me everything I need. They're going to hold me accountable for the role that I'm supposed to be fulfilling. And they're going to make sure that I have all the support needed to be
Yeah.
held accountable to meet those goals. All of those things encompass pouring into your people. It's not just sending them a gift card or somebody had a surgery on their knee, so I'm going to send them a DoorDash card because I know they can't walk around, but they might be able to DoorDash some food in. Um, a, a, a death in the family, and we send some a bouquet and thinking of you, right? Yes, all of those things are important, but they're only important when they're all put together, right? They're all small little pieces to this big giant puzzle. And if you feel like your company that you are giving a lot of time to, I mean, look at the hours in the week and how many hours are you spending trying to fulfill a role? Yes, they're paying you a paycheck, but that's just a formality.
Yeah.
You're giving them all of this effort and time out of your life. You want to know that they are appreciative of it. And you show that appreciation by supporting them, training them, developing them, wishing them happy birthday, being there for them when they have a child in the hospital and you tell them, don't worry about work. We've got it covered. Go be with your child in the hospital. Like making sure they know that you're there. It's almost like a parent child relationship.
Very much.
I feel like it all day long sometimes that I'm parenting at work and parenting at home.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, sometimes it's very fulfilling, and at that sometimes it's struggle bus,
Yeah.
but that's okay.
Exactly. That's okay. Well, Ashley, this has been an awesome conversation. I've taken so many notes and, you really hit on so many key ideas. I know that you are still growing and you have so much to use. So tell us a little bit, what is next for you and your companies?
Yes, absolutely. Our remote company is growing by leaps and bounds. We have a lot of clients that are in a franchise system, and a lot of them are procuring more licenses because of the work that we've done for them. We've created growth for them, so that's very exciting. So that company is growing. Our brick and mortar has blown up. It's very local. It's very grilled into that community, and we have gotten a lot of contract deals just by our team being out in the community doing what they do best, serving others. And so that's been really exciting. But me and the CEO of these two companies have worked together for quite a few years, and I finally convinced her to do a podcast because I feel as though a lot of our challenges, I feel as though a lot of other women face these challenges every day. And if I would have had somebody to listen to when I was going through it, I feel as though I would have felt less unsure of myself. And it may have not made me any better, but it would have helped me mentally to be like, oh, somebody else knows what I'm feeling, and it would have been
Exactly.
great. So to offer that to other people, I've convinced her to start a podcast. We have called it the C-Suite Chicks. We get on and talk about all types of things. Some work, some not. Recently, we recorded an episode about school starting and how stressful that is when you
Yep.
have children. And even if you don't have children, the traffic changes, the
Yep.
schedules change, your lunch changes, everything changes.
Yeah.
So silly
That's
things like
so
that. But we have
exciting.
a website called csweetchickspod.com, and that's where you can find all of our episodes and give us a listen and some feedback.
Love
And
it.
then our digital marketing agency is our remote agency that is tier level digitalmarketing.com. We offer SEO to all types of different businesses, and our goal is to grow your business. And our brick and mortar is a screen print shop that's currently titled Printed Theory. We are in the process of a rebrand, so it will change soon, but it will get redirected properly, and it's printedtheory.com. And they're awesome. So if you're in the Tulsa area, check them out. They are the best in the area. So I
Love it.
appreciate it.
Yeah, that is so exciting. And I can't wait to follow the show. And, when you're talking about not letting others feel alone, that was exactly the drive behind this show, is because I knew all the struggles and how alone I felt. And I wanted to do
Yes.
the same thing. So I honor that and I can't wait to follow it. One last question for you before I let you go today.
Yes, ma'am.
Sitting where you sit today, how do you define success for yourself now?
Wow. I know you somewhat prepared me for this, but how do I define success now? I would say at the end of the day, when I'm sitting down to read a book to get my mind off of everything that's happened in the day, do I feel as though I did everything to the best of my ability? Not did I ever do everything right, not did I do everything perfectly, but did I put my absolute best into my meetings, into my emails, into my children, into my husband, into my physical care for myself, into my workout, into how I appeared that day to others? Did I do my best? If the answer to all of those things is yes, okay, great. If it's no to some and yes to others, all right, how can I do better? And then sometimes I sit down and write, in a journal about, okay, well, this situation didn't go so well. This is how I would do it better. Sometimes I don't do that. I do work really hard at making that a habit because being able to look back on that thought process in the future would be very beneficial for me. And so that's something I'm working on to be successful. But how do I define success today? Did I put my all in? Did I do my absolute best? Yes or no? And it's that simple.
It's that simple. I love it. Well, Ashley, thank you again for being here. Thank you for sharing so much of your insight, your wisdom. And I know that so many people are going to have a certain level of comfort and not feel so alone. So I appreciate your time and thank you again so much.
Thank you. And thank you for your podcast. And thank you for what you put out into the world to help other women. And wow, you're just such an inspiration. So thank you.
Thank you so much. What a show. Oh my gosh. Ashley just set me on fire with so many of the things that she talked about, from the very get go. Be present. No matter where you are, be there and be present. And then she kind of tied this in a pretty little bow in the end when she talked about how she defines success. And again, it's not about getting everything done, it's always about being your best. And, that's something that I work with my people on too, is again, show up and be the best version of yourself. Some of the other takeaways: knowing that every day is going to have challenges in it. We cannot control the challenges from happening. All we can control is how we respond to them. And especially as a leader, because we're all leaders in some shape or form, how we respond is going to have a ripple effect through the culture and through the other people that we work with, whether it's our team members, our family members, our clients. So again, really checking into how we're responding. And then also tacking onto the idea that we can't control the challenges. We also have to embrace the teachable moments. Things happen for a reason, and they can either be obstacles or opportunities. So again, when things don't go your way, take them as a teachable moment. And then again, remember, if you make a mistake, give yourself some grace and also live with the integrity of apologizing. Take ownership of your actions. It's going to send a very strong message to those that you work with. And again, allow them to not only see you as more of a human, allow them to take ownership in their world too. And then one of the other things we talked a lot about is as a leader, pour into your people. Remember, if you want to strengthen your organization, you do it by strengthening your team. So, acknowledging them. Three things that I wrote down: listen to them, connect with them, and know them. Those little things matter, bringing them together. Again, your culture is everything. So, really doing your best to pour into that culture and work with that. So, I hope you enjoyed today. There were so many great nuggets in here. Please make sure to follow the show, to like the show, rate the show. And then also, let's go out there and share this episode with at least three others that you know that are out there battling every day, and encourage them to be their best. Thank you again for following. I'm Clara Capano, and this is Women Winning Their Way.